이번에 2024년 7월 월별 파이널이 열렸습니다. 그중 8강에서의 경기인은 어피아이 팀과 엔젤릭 팀이 경기를 가져왔습니다. 그럼 보러 가시죠.
It's going to be time to jump into Na'Vi versus, and he has to go all the way. And that is a big ask considering that they've struggled to really, make it deep. Definitely a roster that, like roster, were pretty fearsome when they first came.
And rejoining the roster and closing in towards the end. We're getting into Hideout for a bit of bounty. Our first set here between Na'Vi and Angelic.
And now we can actually talk about the game Brolstars, because we've spent so much of this show already just talking about qualifying scenarios and how teams are going to make it there. But obviously, Berry is now available for play. Very powerful brawler that kind of does it all. Expect to see that banned a whole lot. But I'm hearing whispers of a lot of Chester play now recently, with him kind of getting buffed, right? His star power getting folded into his kit and then getting a new star power on top of that. Seems like he's a force to be reckoned with.
I could totally see Chester making his debut here, maybe played around the left lane for our home team. You need to get in close range in order to actually make use of Chester. Where he's going to have the most value is against a brawler that wants to get in close range, obviously. That is where he is effective. So a tank or something of the like. Mandy first selection, this brawler is immensely popular right now. And honestly, no complaints here. You do a ton of damage with the super, and it goes across the entire map. It just takes good teamwork and good spotting, some predictions also, to see where your enemies are going to be. There's some good brawlers that you can pair it with as well. Some that counter it. I don't see a nanny ban, so that's completely on the table if Na'Vi actually want to just reflect the sugar ray when it comes through.
Right, oddly enough, Suzuku opts for Piper instead, where, Nani is probably much more of a harder counter to that Mandy. Mandy powerful. I mean, the fact that she has a slow, on her gadget is extremely good for self-defense and also securing those eliminations, especially with that Sugar Rush. So Levi, going with an RT. So, again, makes sort of sense as these rounds start to tick down. You have a defensive option, someone who's also pretty effective at long range, and yeah, we were starting to see a little bit more of this last month. Ready, set. Pearl, a brawler that really excels in the rounds, like to run long.
Yes, and also just has good survivability. I think maybe that's where you're going with that. Because she has the shield. She charges up heat in her oven. She gets the shield. It's immense damage reduction. She already has good health as it stands. And then on top of that, as that heat builds up, she gets higher DPS. She can also burn people with the use of her gadget to confirm a kill, or just start off a pretty solid push. We'll see Carl as well to grab that blue star instantly. So now Na'Vi are going to have to think about how they're actually going to play this one aggro. I see Angelic with what can be a very powerful defensive comp. Now, I don't know where Carl is going to factor into the defense aspect. He will be good against a thrower last pick, which I could see the other two members of Angelic's roster being quite susceptible to.
Yeah, Na'Vi maybe having an option to pick that up last here, and the Carl will give them pause for thought. Carl's just so very good at crossing that gap and getting on top of one of those last pick throwers to kind of punish it in general, but Larry and Laurie is still going to be the lock-in here for Na'Vi. Definitely one of the go-to throwers here after receiving millions of nerfs, it feels like. Still a very powerful option here, and on Bounty, definitely not an uncommon pick either.
I worry a little bit for the Pearl here, considering that she is outranged by every single member of Navi's composition. So she's going to have to juke and weave pretty much the entire time. Maybe punishing some over-aggression. I could totally see it happening, perhaps for a Choppy over here on the Larry, if he decides that he needs to play a lane without the benefit of having a wall. We'll see Sago immediately grab this blue star, and now it's time for some defense. They can't fall back too quickly. Ideally, they would keep the sort of effective line of scrimmage here at mid and not have to go all the way back to their spawn. No contact there from Kanga with the gadget on the left. But he'll be using this wide open area on the left side to try and get some damage and be able to shoot through walls against a low health Suzuku, who does grab the kill around the right and shifts the tides in favor of Na'Vi.
So we're going to be looking definitely at that Pearl here as one of the more exploitable elements of Angelic's composition, and Suzuku kind of already demonstrating that early on. Saw a gadget use there from Kanga to try and set something up. There was no connection earlier on, and Sago will be under some degree of pressure here. Na'Vi have enough map control where they don't have to be too worried about this Carl just walking up on their Larry and Laurie, and this time is going to be the Mandy falling down, so a lot of pressure here mounting on Angelic, who no longer get to be defenders. Sago almost feinting some aggression there with the flying hook, but doesn't follow up on it.
See Na'Vi go further into the lead, take down of that Laurie clone on the left side. Looks like Na'Vi are falling back. They're opting to play more defensively now. They still don't have that blue star. Sago has stayed alive with it since the beginning of the match and even grabbed a kill in the process of pushing up here. Here comes the Sugar Ray, down nothing. Suzuku took to the skies anyway just to play it safe. He's going to need that back if he wants to defend versus Sago, though.
Yeah, getting the blue star on Angelic means that any elimination puts them into the lead, essentially. They're going under some pressure, pop the gadget. Levi not bothered at all. Sago into the tailspin here, but yeah, Achapi keeps a respectful distance away from that one. Angelic really struggling here to kind of achieve their aims when it comes to team composition. And now 15 seconds left, they've got pretty much no options left.
Just 10 seconds on the board. Angelic need to push up big time. We still see a gadget available for Sago. Take down from Levi on the left side. Hyper charge over to the left side because they already taken it. That's game one for Na'Vi.
Yeah, worth pointing out as well, since last time we saw these teams play in a monthly finals, Piper's also received a hypercharge, which is, you know, maybe lending to her power might have made her more of a desirable pick here for Na'Vi over the Nani, which we discussed would be a decent counter to the Mandy. Again, she is pretty fearsome and great. We're really just breaking that map open when she needs to. Obviously, Na'Vi never really needing to make use of that hypercharge there, but it's worth knowing it's on the docket if required.
See this blue star head over to Angelic once again. It's in Sago's hands. Everything going according to plan. Levi and Choppy looking for their first picks, being careful not to push too far onto this right side. Suzuku's taking on the 1v2. He's gonna have to pay the price with his life, it looks like, as Sago takes advantage of his lack of ability to fight in close range. It's the early game, didn't have a super, couldn't jump away. What, is Sago gonna do this again? Baited the super out of Piper, now going to abuse a Choppy in close range. Takedown for Suzuku with what appeared to be a gadget. Megu and Kanga still just hanging on by a thread on the right,
that's
but
big.
Suzuku's here to claim the kill.
That is massive, because Sago was doing so much of the eliminations that they had a bunch of stars on them, which ended up only being a one-star lead for Angelic once the Carl got out. We just saw that remediated very quickly by the Piper finding a homemade recipe kill on Megu in the middle part of the map, and now Na'Vi have that lead again. So all that work for Sago eventually goes for nothing.
Back to Angelic, though. Kanga has this Sugar Ray available on the right, but he doesn't have any one-shots that he can really go for. On the left side, we'll see Levi sort of transitioning to the Jackie form. Sago goes in aggressive versus Suzuku, forced a super to the left side, but he's completely out of reach. Now Sago has to use his super defensively. Meanwhile, Kanga has been taken down by a Choppy. He was left totally undefended over this wall. Na'Vi have the lead once more. They're leading by just one blue star. And it's drive time for Angelic. They have to push up the map no matter whether they have the control or not. Huge taps in for Suzuku with the hypercharge, but now it expires. They still are playing defense.
Suzuku made a lot of space for a Choppy, though. They were very low, looking to give themselves up, and that would have been the lead for Angelic. They've got to go for an Angelic now with only a couple seconds left with a pop and use by Suzuku.
Use Carl, you're going to flying hook into mid, get the blue star, then we can play defensive.
Situation like that when you are supposed to be in an offensive posturing. And you said, yeah, half their problem comes from the fact that that Pearl...
That's where we see Pearl most often these days, it seems, just because of her survivability aspect, which could be valuable here on Hot Zone, where the objective is to stay alive on the zone above all.
Absolutely. We see plenty of compositions designed to keep a singular or multiple brawlers alive. That's why tanks and healers have been pretty popular on this map in the past. Anything that gives you a degree of zone control and staying power is something that these teams really tend to prioritize here. You know, Open Business even more so, you know, has a lot of ways to get involved in the fight, even if you're not standing on the point here. So some of those longer range brawlers we've definitely seen get involved. We've seen a lot of Byron picked from this region, for example, someone who offers great deal of sustain to the rest of your brawlers, and a super that can really turn a fight on its head. Different in Dueling Beetles, right, where the kind of map where we'd see those tanks really want to play. It's slightly more enclosed. You can cut the map off. We see a lot of, you know, Pam. We've seen a lot of M's on maps like that here. They're an option on Hot Zone, but you can get poked down from the periphery here. And you can see, again, Berry being banned out straight away. Primo and Barley being banned by Angelic.
I would say that those make sense. We talked about Dueling Beetles just a moment ago, and we can draw some parallels here, where Primo's just good into enemy tanks. Tanks are going to be great in Hot Zone in general because you need to stay alive on the point. Okay, cool. Also, with Dueling Beetles, just like on Open Business, throwers are going to take so much value. I'm interested in why Suzuku has picked this Larry so early on when it can be quite easily countered by wall break, maybe by like a Stew or something, or also by a Carl that gets in close range versus you. Maybe they're emboldened.
Rank is open?
This is also true. And
Rank
I think maybe that's what Angelic have decided to go with this Gale for, is to have some more value versus that Frank. Keep in mind that Colette is still a viable option, but we've also seen Frank actually suffer quite a bit despite being so good.
Sandy is also available. Very powerful brawler and can make a great use of the cover up close here to close the gap. But this, for me, is definitely a bit of an Apac special pick here. And almost every single time we see the Nita brought in, she has impact. She has 61% win rate. They're only picked about 19% of the time, banned only 8% of the time. So she's always sneaking through and is one of the highest win rate brawlers on this map in general. B going to be picked here to round out Navi's comp.
I think B will be effective into the Gale. Into the Draco, I wonder a little bit, because B is good into tanks in general because she can slow them down. But the thing is that the Gale and the Draco, that's just going to repeatedly jump pad.
Oh, buddy.
Point. Yeah, here comes Mortis. So Mortis will be the way that they approach this Larry over here. But it's not going to be any good into the Nita really at all, because he's just going to feed her super. She'll get a bear, and then there's nothing that he can do against it from there. And to B, though, she doesn't have any knockback or anything, so I can see the value there. As long as these walls stay up, which they are, there's no wall break here, then it shouldn't be an issue for him to dash around. Problem is, though, that the objective of this mode is not just to get kills. It's also to stay alive and stay on the zone. And I don't see Mortis having that much zone time. So maybe the idea is, hey, I'm going to go dive, and then you guys constantly jump head into the point. We've already seen Megu get this one set up. So Sago now is going to try and get this dragon cycle going.
Well, slow start there for Sago. And again, we've already seen, two rattled hives used here by Shizuku. So just early damage and getting that foot on the point first is quite important to Na'Vi apparently. But again, we didn't even see a Nita super until just now, and they were still able to stave off one after another these interlopers from Angelic. There's already a gadget used there by Sago. Kanga's going to dive in and still get blown up because Laurie is a bit of a problem. He really is more than happy to take those close-quartered fights. So once Larry has that super up, it gets ugly, and now Angelic are just running it down mid, basically.
They're trying to overwhelm the opponent, but it's not really working because they're going in one by one. Maybe this will have a bit more value. Sago coming in around the left and Megu around the right. Now Kanga jumps in, but he's just getting tossed all over the place. Shizuku hits him with the 4KB, and it's all over then. We'll see another gadget in from Sago, but no real value there. No kills, no nothing. Megu gets taken down by the bear around the right, and another kill from a choppy on a Kanga on the left. Na'Vi just doesn't seem like this is going to work from Angelic.
And Laurie is busted here. That is disgusting. Look at what that clone is able to do here for a Chappie. Just get up in everyone's face, whether it's Megu, whether it's the Mortis, even Sago, for free. A Chappie's basically adding like extra melee range brawlers to the mix on top of this Nita, and it makes it impossible for Angelic's very tanky, very upfront composition to do anything.
Permit me to be very critical here. I'm not sure at what point, or at any point, if they're going to decide, hey, maybe this part where we're filtering in one by one just isn't working. I see Angelic repeatedly throwing themselves into 1v3s that are completely unwinnable for them. Megu around this right side is trying to do his best and assist his teammates in getting in valuable positions. But we saw Draco go down just feeding supers to the enemy, getting absolutely nothing in the process. Levi already has a super on the right side. And we see also the use of the gadget to push Megu all the way back into their own spawn. In fact, could be a good kill for a Choppy. The Bear's even getting swipes off. I mean, this is insanity, honestly, that this is
Levy has
for Angelic.
Levy has Bear with me as well, so they're more than happy to fight on the point and get healed by the Bear just taking swipes at Kanga or someone similar. Very, very tanky Levy becomes as a result of this. And there we go, Chappie deals with Kanga now. Again, Laurie is back on the field, and that gadget is huge when you're starting to get pressured by a Mortis. Sago can't use gadgets in every situation like that in order to have that invulnerability period, so they have to capitulate here, and Na'Vi are already at 65% and counting. Bit of an awkward spot for a Chappie to be in, to be fair, but Na'Vi can reset with a big lead.
Well, looks like they've actually gotten themselves set up now. But notice that Sago doesn't have a single gadget left. So if he gets to 0 HP, he's going to stay there. We see the Hypercharge Bear in. Could get some swipes onto Sago. Look how quick it is. And he doesn't have the ammo to deal with it, it looks like. Levi now coming in for the pinch with his own Bear. And gets to take down Kanga on the right side. Try to get some value there with the super. He'll get some supercharge back when he respawns. And it may be all the value that he can get out of these plays. As Navi are now climbing up to 90%, fighting yet more 1v3s. We'll see a takedown for Kanga and an attempt at a retake for Megu, but still a nice 4KB there from Suzuku. Angelic, no, it's
means that having like that extra bodyguard who wants to fight up close, who does a heck of a lot of damage.
They put down the jump pad and they win in 1 by 1. There were times when we saw them all
really strong brawler, but he is so exploitable, and you see that right there with just that scoreline was just not good enough. Now, similar looking map, but obviously different. We're headed over to Double Swoosh, a bit of a classic here for Gem Grab.
Re-entering the map pool as well. Definitely, in my opinion, a welcome reintroduction. This is the bush map in Gem Grab. We actually had another pretty bushy map reintroduced that we'll get to become acquainted with later on. Some Undermine awaits us in the future in this monthly final. However, on Double Swoosh, you have a few dynamics here. One to note is that if you just look at the geography here, that right lane, if it looks challenging to play as blue team, then you are correct, okay? Your judgment is absolutely spot on there. To the extent that players will often call it the bad side. Hey, what are we gonna play bad side? Hey, can you take bad side? And one of the ways to make it a bit easier to play is picking up an Amber here. Note the Gale first selection. Gale is going to be good into Sandy, which actually has been double banned here, interestingly enough. It'll also be good into Surge, which can take advantage of these bushes early on to
good
get a super.
Lily too, right?
That too, and Lily has not been banned here, shockingly.
She is open, but Chester actually going to get picked here. So someone we talked about earlier on in the show, but like you mentioned, Reddy said, someone who does want to play at somewhat close ranges.
Yeah, you're able to lock in like between 5,000 and 6,000 damage with the use of your fourth shot. Keep in mind that has been built into his kit now. His first star power is just there. So what is his first star power now? Oh, it only triples the damage of his first attack, the weakest part of his 4 attack cycle. So this is a very strong brawler now that'll be effective on the left side of the map. Keep in mind that this map that we're looking at right here is not double swoosh. It kind of looks like a couple of swooshes. I'll allow you to imagine that in your mind.
Right, that was the previous map in this series, the open business. It was the hot zone map. Either way, Chester has the highest win rate of almost any other brawler. In fact, the highest win rate, I think, right now on this map at 65%. That's at only a 16% win rate in general. So there are a few teams that cottoned on to just how powerful this brawler is, and they're going to look to maliciously abuse it as much as humanly possible. And why not round out the composition with the Byron? You have a good amount of healing here between Magic Puffs and Byron innately being able to offer you that. It's a comp that can definitely throw down. I would say that Vision Gear is very handy for Gene to keep eyes on what's happening in the bushes on the quote-unquote bad side.
Well, here it comes. It's a side you were talking about. Levi is going to be playing this one, utilizing a gadget already to try and scout out where Sago is. He knows where he is. Just has to use that Vision Gear to keep some eyes on him. Choppy also got to be running Vision Gear here.
It's amazing.
He is looking for some enemies, just trying to mark them up so that Levi and Suzuku know where they are. So far, quite even here on the gym count, but it appears that the control more belongs to Navi than Angelic.
Yeah, what you don't see because of these Vision Gears and these cone attacks is that Angelic may as well have no bushes on their side of the map. They are basically revealed constantly. And that's why they're playing kind of passively out towards this right-hand side of the map now, trying to lean into what's supposed to be their strong side. Levy overextends a little bit there, but Achapi still holding plenty of gems. Sago being kept under the thumb for now, and Kanga would love to get back in here, but Byron definitely going to answer that Crow threat quite adequately.
This mid play from Achapi has been on point. He's very effective at scouting out enemies on the right, and then on the left side, Levi's taking a lot of damage, burned down by Crow. Achapi's got to be careful. He can keep eyes on that right side, but if Suzuku gets jumped on the left, then he could come under a lot of fire. Megu now throwing down this turret. Not in a great position, honestly. It's easy for Suzuku and Achapi to both get. It's always valuable to throw down the Jesse turret behind some kind of obstacle, but not there. I think it was just a bit off the mark.
Yeah, maybe more towards the center of those two unbreakable boxes so Achapi couldn't see it from where he was standing. Levy is getting absolutely folded in half on that right-hand side of the map here, but Sargo switched lanes to have a bit more of a comfortable time as they didn't really fancy their chances. Up against the Chester, and that was Kanga's grand exit, I guess, as their super was used there maybe to try and intervene on the left-hand side lane, but they eventually got brought down. And Achapi's been very, very safe and very comfortable for basically this entire round. Really hard to put pressure on the Gene at the best of times here. Mega with the hypercharge, but no turret to back it up, so they'll fall with nothing to do. Achapi not wanting to connect the triple magic hand, they're not needing to. Those 10 gems were safely held.
Achapi's just been untouchable this entire set so far. We see him dodging shots left, right, and center. We see that right lane being secured for him by the Chester. And even when Chester falls, he holds on to that position. I think also that he has to owe a lot of this to Suzuku, who's been keeping back Gale on this left side. He's been consistently tapping him up for damage, even going for pinches. I think Angelic are taking a much different approach as well. They're playing much more control. They're playing a lot more passively. And honestly, I would go to the extent of saying that they're playing timidly, which is quite uncharacteristic of the playstyle that has given them victories over the last several months.
I also don't think it's going to help them in this particular matchup here, because this Gene is just going to continue to move up, take gems, and then play back from a safe distance here. Whereas Levy can just be a nuisance. Stun super there came up for Chester, and enables them to get that elimination. Meku has no gems to their name. They just haven't had the chance as their side lane's been getting crushed here. Kanga has definitely struggled a little bit. I mean, with the amount of raw health on Chester, it's just such an oppressive brawler to fight against. Another stun super comes up. Megu's going to be forced to part with that last gem and use a turret here. Probably doesn't feel great. Angelica in deep trouble, in case that wasn't clear.
Oh, big pull for Achapi in the takedown. The use of the Vengeful Spirits as well, and Sago's on low health. Take down the turret for Levi on the right side, and Suzuku falls on the left. But Achapi's holding on to 10 gems. Angelic try to push up this left side. Shield and super in from Kanga, but Achapi is alive. The hypercharge popped by Kanga, but no value. Achapi is out of range. 10 gems to his name, and Navi.
And they started so strong as well. They've had some pretty close finishes, some great showings in
for Angelic. And the difference in playstyle also, it was a distinct move away from what
First time the Gal was, picked the gems as the side landers went to work.